All right, welcome to the Windows Working Group meeting. Thank you guys for coming. Just want to go over we've had a good couple of sprints here. Had a lot of stuff. I've been able to do some bug fixes and the merging has been happening more regularly. Sometimes I'll have stuff sit for a month before it ever gets merged, but things have been moving along a little smoother here. So I recently added a few more options for Salt Cloud, so you can so that a few more you can pass like the install directory and set the service to delay start, which you couldn't do before. Fixed an issue with the system.master, which is used kind of for the keep alive. And this fixed issues with on versions of Windows that aren't English. It was using shoot, I can't remember. It was using something from the CLI netstat.
Netstat.
Net. Yeah. And so that was returning localized data. And so PSUtils doesn't. So hopefully that'll take care of that issue. This was one you had submitted, Dafid, to hopefully clear the context to force LGPO to reload all of the ADMX ADML files. I don't know if you had a chance to test that.
I haven't had a chance to test that, but I'm grateful that you looked at it and you worked on it. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your confidence. Some fixes with Chocolatey. There's some issue with the state. When Chocolatey 2 came out, they started using search instead of list to get a list of things that are installed on the system. And some of the capital, like it would capitalize the first letter, depending on which one was used. So this just uses dot lower to make sure everything's being compared, and it was causing their states to fail. Also added the ability to bootstrap a specific version of Chocolatey. Fixed an issue. This has been broken since 3006.3. There were some changes that went into GitFS that changed the directory structure of our WinRepo. If it was done on a master and it had PyGit2 or GitPython installed, it would do the normal directory structure, and then it would add an underscore directory right underneath that. If you ran this with salt call on a Windows minion, it would add a underscore package to the end of the directory. So we can't have them being different depending on how you're doing update Git repos. So I couldn't get rid of the underscore because it had to do with a CVE fix that went in. So I didn't want to mess with reintroducing some sort of vulnerability. And I don't understand that code completely. So I just adopted the underscore directory, and so now it's the path in WinRepo has an additional underscore directory in it. I fixed the salt call one to also add that same directory, and then I created a pull request on WinRepo for packages that were affected by that to update that path, so they're looking in the right location for their resources. So hopefully that'll take effect that'll be fixed with 3006.8, which we're currently working on getting released. So hopefully next week or so we'll have that out. I also removed, since we're doing RELENV, it didn't seem like we needed the VC redis and the UCRT anymore. The UCRT we needed, that's the Universal C runtimes. They're a bunch of DLLs that Windows needs, and we only needed them for Windows Server 2012 and Windows 8. And since those are end of life now, I removed those. And then Python seemed to run without VC Redist using the relenv builds. So I initially removed it here, and then we did a merge forward, and some stuff got missed. So just some further cleanup there. However, on 3007, I don't know why this is the case. I think we changed to using some different SSL or something. But now we need VC Redist 2022. So I had to add that back, but it didn't seem to affect 3006. So this is only on 3007. David, you suggested some changes to the Bootstrap script to allow it to install RCs. So I did a kind of a major rewrite there, and it now handles RCs. And I also updated the instructions, added some Windows steps in the install guide. So that should be taken care of. And then just FYI, the Great Module Migration got merged. And I sent in a question. So it got merged, meaning it was removed out of master. So those modules are now gone. But did they get dumped somewhere else? And I'm trying to ask where that is. I thought it would have been here at the Great Module Migration. Maybe there's another repo somewhere, but they're not there. So I asked in our internal channel where those got put, if they got put, or if they're going to be put. So I'll find that out. Anyway, as far as community discussion, I just had some questions. I see you've been doing a lot of work on that mend renovate thing. I'm not, how's that going, and what does it do, and is it working? And
okay, well, it is
pull
working.
up WinRepo.
Yeah, why not? Well, I think you understand the basic concept of it, do you?
I've forgotten.
Okay. So it's a project which is designed to update dependencies in code, or really in text files. So anything that's textual with a number, you can assign what they call a manager, I believe, and a data source. So, for example, a manager would be responsible for updating version numbers, for example, in GitHub Actions workflow files. So if you find one of the workflow files, .github,
my bad,
workflows main, you will see some sort of comments and things like that. So all of those have been added either by myself or by Renovate itself. So basically on a schedule. So we set it up as a GitHub application. So it's sort of tied into this repository. And so it runs on a schedule, which is sort of hourly or every few hours. And then based on the configuration that you write, it will do certain things. So the things that I've set up are to look for updated versions of the GitHub Actions that we are using. So for example, Actions checkouts, Actions setup Python. So it looks for new versions of those. And when it finds a new version, it will create a PR in this repository to tell you, right, well, I'm proposing this change. It will update the version and it runs the tests, for example. And if the tests pass, then you can then go ahead and merge the PR and it creates that change in the repository. But one of the other settings is this is specific for GitHub Actions, is that it will pin the digest of that version of the code. So it's not just GitHub Actions, usually you specify a tag, but in this, Renovate will do this for you. It will find the commit SHA for that version and sort of specify it in the workflow file. And that's what all those the highlighted SHA reference is, and that's just an added sort of security thing so that somebody can't change the tag without you knowing. And then if you look just a tiny bit further up of that file, there's a commented line, renovate, and that was something I put in. This needs to be fixed slightly, actually. So the reason for this is to, when you use the action setup Python, which is a few lines lower down, that is setting up Python on the GitHub runner that you're running this workflow on. And you can choose which version of Python you want to be installed and set up. And so because this is a step towards automation. So basically, I changed it from hard coding the Python version to setting the Python version as an environment variable in the workflow. And then with that comment line, so this is like customizing Renovate. So that comment line tells Renovate where to look to get that version number. So it's using the data source GitHub tags, which means going to a GitHub repository and looking up the tags. And the dep name is the GitHub repository that you want to look up. So that is, Python, CPython is the repository for the Python builds. And so when a new CPython version is released, Renovate will know about that and then set or propose a PR for updating that Python version to 3.12.4 or whatever. But that's all of that information is in the comment because it's a customization. Like Renovate doesn't know anything about Python versions in GitHub Actions workflows. So this is a way of customizing by telling it exactly where to look for things. So that is really just for convenience, really, so that you don't have to hard code Python version when you're using the GitHub Action setup Python. But all of this is really just testing the waters that eventually we should be able to customize Renovate in any of the other package files, WinRepo package files, and use that same style of comment to tell Renovate where to find new versions of these packages. So I haven't got that far to take that step yet, but it's certainly something which would reduce the burden of maintenance on these package files. So is that clear?
Yeah, that refreshes my recollection. Thank you.
Okay. And it's not obvious, but the Renovate web app, GitHub app, has a sort of developer portal that if you have certain permissions on this repository, you can go and look at that. And it will sort of give you some log files of Renovate running in the background and telling you what it's found and why something hasn't worked. So I found that to be very useful as well. And I think the URL would be, if you want to try this in a new tab, it's developer.mend.io. And this is what wasn't really working. You can sign in with your GitHub. No, just Renovate, yeah. So if you click on that, I believe it will. So this is the developer portal, and yeah, I mean it's in a dark mode or something like that. So this is just for convenience, really, to show you what it's doing. And you can click on one of those IDs on the left-hand side and it will go into, okay, well, that's a failed job. If you find one that works, it will give you the logs, and that's really just for debugging how it works. But yeah, I mean, I sort of suggested this at the last meeting, and you took those steps that you needed to do to get it set up on the repository. So yeah, thank you. And I'm just getting more and more experience with setting it up and things like that. So yeah, I think we can do more with this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how you figure out how to parse those YAML files for the package definitions.
Yeah, well, it's
That seems a bit more involved than just
sure. Yeah,
detecting this, but
I think it will be easier than you may think, because it's literally it's just a regular expression, and we would put if you can find a file with the YAML style that we've been using for Firefox, for example, I would propose just you put this comment line in the first line of the YAML. So load YAML, you just put a comment in that first line in the load line YAML, and then the regular expression would be just looking at the next line after the comment, and it would get the version from that. I mean, obviously taking away the dash from the start of the line.
right.
So it would the way Renovate works, it would only be able to look at the latest version. It doesn't do past, it doesn't do that long list of versions. So
Right.
it would be a case of replacing the top line with the latest version plus the older version, if you get what I mean. So it would be taking one version, i.e. that when you highlight it, and then turning that into, for example, 124.0.3, and then the next line 124.0.2.
Yeah. So it might be rewriting the ones we want to maintain, I guess, or as we try to standardize on this format,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
If you're in agreement with that.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, because these do get ignored. People push up what they need, and then we don't see them for 5 years.
That is something that happens. Yes.
Yeah, that is awesome. Thank you for doing that.
No problem. And I've got something to add to this actually as well.
Okay.
So something I've been working on just the last week or so is I've been looking at this project called Copier. I don't know if it's a Python project. I don't know if you've come across it. It's been mentioned in the Salt Extensions working group. It's a project template tool, and I've set up a project, or rather a template for WinRepo or WinRepo repositories. So you can create your own WinRepo, well, much easier than you could before. I was going to set up an example for this meeting, but I didn't get around to it. I can show you the template though, if you would like.
Yeah, do you want me to stop share?
I'm on an iPad, so if you can.
Okay, sure.
Go yourself to a tab, github.com/my name, DAFYDDJ, and then /copier salt WinRepo. So this is a template that one can use to basically get that whole CI stuff for WinRepo into a new repository. And you will find the template itself is under the template folder, yes. And some of the odd looking files are to do with Copier itself, sort of in metadata, so to speak. So yeah, that's something I wonder if people will find useful, but I have some private WinRepo repositories with sort of some package definitions which aren't really intended for public use.
So is it just anything in template here that gets
Yes,
copied over into the new
basically,
repo?
yes, but there's some added. You can template things using Ginger. Now, I haven't had to do that in this template because it's a fairly simple thing, but you can even template the file names, and that's what that lowest file name is. That's a Ginger template of a file name. So it uses the curly braces, and that curly braces thing would get replaced by something that's configured or using the default in Copier, but that's something that's quite interesting. You can use Ginger in the file names themselves to do, for example, customize the file name itself based on questions and answers that you can ask of the user. And that file there is sort of a standardized file using some built-in values. That one that you were showing there, I mean, there's a sort of a double layer here because this template is actually a product of another template that I created, which bootstraps Copier templates. So we're sort of going off on a tangent here, but any questions?
So is this something we'd want to put in WinRepo to give people an option to generate their own, or?
Yeah, I mean, it would be in the documentation more than anything. It would be something like, well, rather, if you're not sure about adding your package here, or if it's a niche package, or you want to keep it private, then feel free to use this template to build your own WinRepo repository. But I mean, I've literally only started this last week or so, so it's very early days. But we could get there. I'm maybe the next meeting I could give a demo of using it or something.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put you on there for that. I'll put you down in the to-do.
Because we did send a hard file. Or we could send a one with showing my copies of the one showing
Cool. That's awesome, man. Is there anything else? Did you have some more?
Well, this is just another tangent. Again, something I literally just started a couple of days ago. But I've got another template, which I was just testing today, which is for basically running salt call locally in a user directory without having to worry about permissions on log files and things like that. This is just something it's very simple I've been playing with. Maybe if you go back to GitHub, it would be a similar URL, but it would be copier -salt -local. So this time the important things are, yeah, the salt file first. I mean, presumably you're familiar with salt file, yeah. If you run salt command in, it looks in the local directory for the salt file for some configuration. So
Right.
this tells salt core to look in .salt etc for the configuration to use, and then so there's a configuration in that directory in the repository, which, yeah, again, says what the root directory is and the file root. So this, yeah, it creates all the log files and cache and whatnot under .salt, and it also, if you've got any SLS files in the local directory, it will use those. So this is sort of similar to something I think Tom Hatch had created recently. He called it Salt SLS or something, or maybe at the end of last year. But what's sort of interesting is the git ignore here. I had to kind of customize it quite heavily to include some files and exclude some other files, all under .salt. So you can add your own configuration under minion.d if you wanted to customize this local install. Anyway, it's just something I found useful for various reasons, including working on WinRepo. But again, maybe I should demo this.
Another demo. So is this kind of what we did with the multi-minion script? Setting up a salt file and
It's
a config, but this
it's
works differently
it's
because
yeah,
it's not a service. It's not running as a service. It's just
yeah, it's sort of along the same lines, yes, but it's designed just for salt call. Yeah, what you did with the multi-minion was set up multiple services running, and one of them potentially running in a local user folder, which, yeah, I still haven't had time to really dig deep into that. But this is more just for playing with Salt in a sort of local sandbox where all you care about is the local directory. And yeah, because if you just run salt call it as a local user, by default it will try to store log files and things in C program data, and if you don't have permission for that, it all goes wrong, basically. So this is just, I mean, it's very simple really, but it's some basic configuration to let you run salt in a local directory very easily.
That's cool.
But I mean, it does have a use, and I've used it in WinRepo so that you can use that salt call WinRepo module. You can just use it in the local directory, and you can sort of do show SLS, I think the function is, and you don't have to set up.
To see the SLS, yeah, to see the
Yeah,
resulting.
When you make a change or something like that, it's just a very simple way of confirming your changes without needing to set up a minion service or anything like that.
Right.
Again,
Just
yeah,
make sure it's parsing.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe a demo would make that more obvious what the whole point of this is.
Got another to do.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know what you want to call it.
That's fine.
Okay. Maybe I'll put links to these in here. Just to
now. Just you know, you log into the house and boom, you get a WSS because nobody else is logged
So we're
in.
clear.
Hey, good morning.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Is there anything else? Cromwell, do you have anything?
Hello.
Hello?
More or less, I just wanted to have a look how the current Windows status of Salt is. I was playing a little bit with that in the last couple of days. I was probably for memory the one pushing a pull request concerning an update for the Greylog sidecar, either way. But yeah, as mentioned, just wanted to have a short look how the current status is, what are
Did you have
things
a
you're working
PR?
on. Yes. No, not the Salt repo, but the Win
Oh, Win
repo.
repo.
Win repo NG.
I believe I made some comments on that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you did. And yeah, during this this call, I just had to look into this again. I did not find yet some time for this, but yeah, this is now a
Okay.
changed version you're just seeing, where I incorporated your feedback, or hopefully as you wanted it to. Yeah, but
Okay. Well, I hadn't seen the changes so far.
yeah, they are
But
just a few minutes old, so
okay.
this is yeah, as mentioned. Mainly, I wanted to have wanted to see what the current status is, because I, at least in the Win report, looked for me that it is kind of abandoned, as there are some very old versions in it. But yeah,
Yeah,
not that
this is kind of what
updated.
we were.
So I was kind of glad to see that you are looking to renovate as some option to have this more updated. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we probably have the same concerns as you. I mean, it's certainly not abandoned in any way, but me and Shane and I, we can only do so much in terms of keeping all those packages up to date. And if people don't contribute, then there's not much we can do.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I saw some comment in some. I think it was an issue concerning if is it updated or not. But yeah.
Okay.
I
well,
know this of the open source projects, and so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we should. I know there have been some discussions in the past about how active the repository is and things like that. So maybe we should make it clear that it's still actively maintained, and we just need people to make their own contributions if they see something that's out of date.
Yep.
And like you have done, thank you.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if this is something going in the direction which might be long-term good or not, but yeah. First time contribution to the Win repo, so.
Yeah, well, great. And I mean, I hope my feedback was constructive.
Yes, it was. I found it was constructive in a way that you placed some references. So in this instance, example for the Salt minion and the Git package for reference. this one, for example, the YAML construct, I did not use before, but now in this latest version I did. So
Yeah, great. And the reason that I've been pushing this YAML in sort of this inline YAML is because it's more amenable to automation, because it's just a simple format, line-based format. So yeah, that's the reason I've been pushing people towards that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was wondering if this might be the way forward, or if I should copy the lines now 26 to 34 and have this compare versions with the below 1.00 and the new one kind of as a separate.
Oh,
thing.
rather than
Right.
have the
Well,
rather than have this,
Yes.
I
that
think
would
this
make
is-
it a little more readable.
Yes.
And we do that in the salt.
In Git, you are using this set something and default, so I use that. But yeah,
I think we
I
do
mean,
that in salt. Just because, yeah, we have CVE versions, and then we have, I don't know. No, I don't know if that's any cleaner, easier to read or not.
I think from my point of view, I know this is a judgment call, really, more than anything. And again, we don't know how many people are using these specific packages, but I was concerned about sort of creating a breaking change without being necessary. But I think what you're saying is that from version 1.0, they've sort of changed the name of the product or the project, I guess. And so, and I think I gathered that you want to tidy that up. And I mean, yeah, it's sort of up to you, really. So you're saying sort of splitting it into two packages, one post 1.0 and then keeping the old one and keeping them separate to some degree.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a judgment call, really. I see that you've taken my sort of comments on board. Personally, well, I can't really give an opinion because I don't really use this project or this software. So either way, as long as you're following the sort of style of some of the other packages, I think we'd be fine with it.
The thing I would almost, because you have this name, right? Graylog collector sidecar.
Yes. This is
Yet in the
changed
new
to
versions, they don't have collectors. So I would almost recommend doing a whole nother SLS for the new version, just because of this. Because somebody else might want to install it, and
this.
but it's not
The source
collector
repo
anymore.
even is the same. So if you look into the installer line, it's even the same, but they just renamed the binary in the program folder, and so wasn't my call, but yeah, they did this. So
Right.
and when testing with installing it this way, I got an error because the full name was not matching again. Although installation was correct.
Yeah, that is something that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, my personal opinion is we should only break things if we really have to. And so personally, I think I would stick to the package name that was there before and make it just the one package. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Me for myself, I don't have a strong argument in this or that direction. I was just playing a little bit with that. And then I saw this, I saw it was not working, or it was just a very old version. And I thought I can contribute something in this direction, but yeah,
Okay, well,
if it's not working, then
yeah,
it's
I don't have a very strong opinion about it. However, you know, it's good practice that we don't break things
yes.
unnecessarily, and so that's where I'm coming from. But yeah, I mean, if you can give me some time later, and I'll look at it in more detail.
Yeah, as mentioned, I can change this to the kind of previous implementation, or no, what I just mentioned concerning being more readable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or even make the diff cleaner, or
Yeah,
let it contain less.
I'll have a closer look and give you my opinion, and it would only be my opinion.
Yes, just yeah.
Very cool. I went ahead and launched the tests on that, so it'll check your URLs, make sure it builds. But cool. Anything else? Okay.
Yeah, not for me, I think.
Okay. All right.
But well, we will probably hear more about this in the open hour. But yeah, I mean, obviously there are some new versions to be worked on, I believe.
Ah, by the way, but no, this is not Windows related. It's something else.
Well, that's fine.
I saw a bug in 3007 concerning the netbooks integration, but yeah, this is probably out of scope. The upgrade of Salt with the tornado dependency kind of at least seems to cause some issues, but yeah, I think this is not something related to you. This is something that's there's something not working. Yeah, but yeah, as mentioned, this is just me playing around, and
Yeah, sure. What's the error there?
It might be the double thing, not the default. I think it's just one pipe.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Then I'll push the other version. You might rerun it again. I removed the defaults, and you might see the diff now. It's easier to review at least. I did push. Yes, I did. You might need to reload either way. If you can have a look at the changes there, I think they're better readable. This is what I meant before.
Yeah, I think that looks more readable.
Okay, so far from my point of view. I don't know if I'll join the some further calls, but yeah, as I mentioned, I just wanted to have a look how the current status is. Yeah.
And that tornado thing, I think there is it is being worked on. DWAS is working on that. I don't know where he's at on it. I think he has a PR up, but there's more that needs to be done on it. I think. Unless I'm thinking of a different one.
Yeah, I created a PR to fix this, but I did not get a review yet.
Oh, that fixes the tornado?
Yeah, kind of. it's you might look for my name or 663300 is the PR. It fixes
one?
66, yes, this one. It's just Tornado did some breaking change and this is now causing other errors, but yeah.
Oh, okay, maybe
It is
maybe
working
this
at
is a
least in my
different issue.
environment. I replaced this in tree and now it's working for me again, but
Okay, I'll bring this to Diwa's attention. But this
I
would be
think he
something.
already saw it, but I'm not sure.
Did he mention it somewhere?
I do not know if it was this PR or the other one. No, D was I don't know if he saw this.
Confirm. Okay, and then you have this. Okay, let me bring this. I'll mention this to him. I'll bring it to his attention and
Yeah, for me it is a small change, but it at least helps. And as mentioned, it's now working in my environment without any further issues. At least I see. And I think it might be good to have it in a bug fix release for 3.0.7.
right. I do too.
Okay.
Awesome.
No wind.
Well, thanks everybody. Thank you for coming. We'll go ahead and close this and hopefully see you in the open hour in 10 minutes if you can make it.
I cannot. I have another appointment, but yeah.
No
I will
worries.
be there.
Awesome.
Have a nice day
Okay.
or evening, at least in my region.
Yeah, sure. You
Thank you.
too. You too.
Bye.
See you guys.
Okay, see you.
Bye.